The rest of you, use your spears to stab the undead near the gate from above." His voice reminded the guards what they were supposed to be doing. They began plunging their spears into the throng of undead below. There were so many they couldn't even see the ground. They could stab at random and still skewer one. Thrust, wind up, thrust again. Murky blood spilled. The reek of decomposing bodies numbed the guards' noses. The repetitiveness of their frantic motions made them feel almost like zombies themselves. Several undead lost their unlives, tumbled to the ground, and were trampled by the ones behind them. Since they were so lacking in intelligence, they didn't even try to counterattack. Lulled by the repetitive task, the guards gradually began to relax. But just as if the monsters had been waiting for that to happen, someone screamed. When the others turned to look, one of the guards had something long wrapped and wriggling around his neck. It had a slimy pink gleam intestines. At the other end was a corpse shaped like an egg, yet still human. Its front was split wide open vertically. Inside the gaping cavity were more entrails than one person could possibly have. They were writhing like parasitic worms. It was an undead creature called an organ egg. The squirming intestines yanked on the guard. "Yarg!" He yelped and fell, faster than anyone could move to save him. "Help, someone! Arugkia!" he shrieked at the top of his lungs. The other guards had no choice but to witness their comrade's fate. Undead piled onto every part of his body and began to eat him alive. The armor protecting his torso and his efforts to protect his head only prolonged the brutality. First his fingers went, then his calves, then his face was chewed apart. "Fall back, retreat behind the wall," ordered the squad leader, seeing that the organ egg's innards were wriggling again. Everyone rushed down the stairs. The pounding behind them grew stronger. The screeches made it plain that the door was about to give. The sense of tragedy gradually mounted. It didn't seem very likely the door would hold until reinforcements arrived. The undead that appeared would only grow stronger. If the gate opened, a torrent of death would come flooding out. Who knew how much damage would be done? At the moment, all the guards' faces had turned a sickly shade of despair. A metallic clank sounded. Everyone instinctively turned to see where it had come from. It was a warrior in full plate armor, astride a magical beast with wise black eyes. Next to him was a woman so pretty she looked out of place. "Hey, it's dangerous here. Hurry up!" And having said that much, the guard noticed the metal plate hanging from the warrior's neck. An adventurer, but when he saw that it was copper, his slightly raised hopes deflated. An adventurer of the lowest possible rank wouldn't he be able to turn this situation around? Disappointment shone in all the guards' eyes. The warrior sprang lightly off the beast, as if he didn't weigh a thing. "Didn't you hear me? Get away from here, nabe my swords." The warrior's voice was soft compared to the guard's yell, but strangely, it could be heard clearly over the symphony of noise the undead were making. The beautiful woman ran over to him. The warrior drew a great sword. "Hey, look behind you. Better watch out." The guards whipped around as if repelled by the sound of the warrior's voice and faced the end. A shadow loomed taller than the 13-foot wall. Countless corpses had gathered together to form an undead titan, a necroswarm giant. As the guards screamed and went to flee, every man for himself, an unexpected scene unfolded before their eyes. The warrior held his sword like he was about to throw a javelin. What was he about to do? The next moment answered that question. He threw it at an unbelievable speed. Turning quickly back around to watch where it flew, they saw something even more unexpected. The necroswarm giant, a colossal, undead monster they would have never thought could be beaten, got knocked back, as if it had taken a blow from an even bigger giant. It was defeated. As proof the giant had fallen, a colossal thud sounded over the squirming noises. "That thing was in my way," was all he said before striding forward with his other sword drawn. "Open the gate." For a moment the guards didn't realize what he said. They blinked a few times, and the warrior's words finally sank into their brains. "Don't be stupid. There's a huge mob of undead on the other side." "Oh, the name's Momon. Does that have anything to do with me?" The guards were all overawed by the black warrior's overflowing confidence and couldn't say anything. "Well, if you don't want to open the gate, I guess I can blame you. I'll just let myself in." The warrior took a running start, kicked off the cobblestones, and vanished over the wall. He leaped over a 13-foot wall in a single bound while wearing full plate armor. Were they seeing things? Unable to process what had just happened, they all stared gape-mouthed at the space where no one was standing anymore. The beautiful woman who was left behind floated lightly into the air and was about to soar over the wall when a voice called out to stop her. "Please wait, that I beg you, take me too, that I ask." The voice's owner was the robust magical beast the warrior had been riding. She sounded just as dignified as she looked. The beautiful woman frowned slightly, but it didn't compromise her beauty. She told the beast, "Take those stairs. Don't tell me you are going to break your legs falling from that height." "Of course not." "Then away to my master's side I go." "Master, wait for me, that I ask." The huge magical beast scampered past the guards, agilely ascended the stairs, and jumped down to the other side of the wall. Then it was silent. It was as if a typhoon had gone by. How long did they stand there dumbfounded? Then one guard realized something and said, his voice trembling, "Hey, can you hear it?" "What?" "The noises the undead were making. Even if they strained their ears, they couldn't hear a sound. Silence had swallowed them up. All the pounding on the door had stopped." Awestruck, the shivering guard murmured, "Wow, can you believe it? That warrior went in there against all those undead. He actually broke through the mob and is still going." The guards were overcome by amazement and admiration. The noises had stopped because all the undead in the area had been drawn toward a new target. The noises didn't return because the battle was still ongoing, so the undead hadn't come back. The guards ran to the top of the wall in disbelief. Could this be real? They gasped. "What, that warrior? What the?" There were bodies everywhere. A mountain of them. So many corpses lay around that the guards couldn't see the ground. Some of them twitching, hadn't completely lost their negative life, but none were able to fight. As they thought, the sounds of a far-off battle drifted over on the putrid-smelling breeze. "You gotta be kidding me, he's still fighting. He made an enemy of that whole mob and broke through. There's no way. Who the heck is that guy? He said his name was Mormon, right? That copper plate has to be a lie, right? He's gotta be one of those adamantite plates you hear rumors of, don't you think?" Everyone nodded to someone's muttering. There was no way that was a copper-plate adventurer. He was a hero who had to have the highest-ranking plate. That was all they could think. "We may have just seen a legend, the Dark Warrior." "No, the Dark Hero." The others all nodded in agreement. Every time his right arm moved, undead went flying. Every time his left arm moved, undead was sliced in two. Aints had advanced like a tornado of one-hit death, but now he stopped. "You guys are such a pain." Holding both great swords he remade with magic, he scanned the crowd of undead surrounding him with fed-up eyes. He addressed his sword, grimy with bodily fluids, to the monsters. With a flurry of flinches, the undead tried to squirm away from him. Undead shouldn't have been able to feel fear, but they sure seemed scared of Aints. "I apologize for the trouble, that I do." The voice came from above Aints, quite a ways above. The wise king of the forest was floating floppily, 4 legs splayed, in the air. Her head drooped and her voice was cheerless. She was apologizing to someone other than Aints. "Could you not move around? You're so soft and fluffy it's hard to hold you." Narbral's voice came from somewhere around the wise king of the forest's belly. Narbral was holding her up using fly half sunk into his squishy body. "I am sorry," she said. The lower-tier undead, with their subpar intelligence, didn't immediately treat Aints as an enemy. Their senses were keenly attuned to life, so they thought Aints was one of them. But they weren't going to miss the living wise king of the forest. As a result, Aints was drawn into a brawl. To avoid the possibility that the beast would be injured, Narbral had to lift her out of the undead's reach. Aints took a step forward. The undead mob took a step back. The distance between them didn't change one bit, and the circle remained intact. The circle moved according to how Aints moved. They seemed to be looking for openings to attack. If they set one foot inside the circle, they'd be destroyed in one hit. That's why they simply encircled him and none were attacking. It was the result of the low-intelligence monsters finally learning, after a ridiculous amount of repetition, that they would be annihilated if they made a careless approach. "But I am not going to get anywhere at this rate." Aints was only grumbling about the annoying amount of undead still remaining. If he were to make a serious attempt at getting by, he'd plow right through this mob. But if he barreled ahead and the undead spread out, the guards back there might be killed. If that happened, he would lose the witnesses who would testify that he resolved the incident. To minimally guarantee their safety, he needed to draw off at least a good chunk of the monsters. It did slow his progress, though. Narbrel took his comment at face value. Then let us call the army from Nazareth, my lord. With 100 minions or so we could eliminate all in this graveyard who oppose you in the blink of an eye. Don't be stupid. How many times do I have to tell you the reason we came to this city? But Lord Aints, if your aim is to gain a reputation, would it perhaps not be better to wait until the undead had breached the gate and racked up scores of human casualties? I've already considered that. If I were well informed as to the aim of our enemy, the war potential of this city, and so on, I may have taken that route. But as it is, we know barely anything, so I'd like to avoid losing any more initiative. I don't want things going according to their plan. It is also possible that another team would swoop in to steal our show while we were standing around. I see brilliant, Lord Aints. I should have expected that a supreme being would have thought everything out. I am struck anew by admiration. I apologize for still being so ignorant, but I wonder if sending in some minions who specialize in stealth abilities, like 8-edged assassins or shadow demons, would have been a better plan. Then you could just stand back and watch the fight. You could wait for anything major to change to gauge the best timing. Ain't said nothing and just looked up at her. The undead took the silence as lowered guard and stepped into the circle. They were hastily cut down. If I tell you everything, how will you ever learn to think for yourself? Yes, sir, my humble apologies. Shaken, albeit slightly, Aints whipped around to see how far from the gate they had come and to check if the guards could see them. But time is short. I have no choice. I'll have these guys slice through for us. Aints unleashed a power. He used the skill Create Middle Tier Undead Jack the Ripper and Create Middle Tier Undead Corpse Collector. As the skill was used, 2 undead appeared. One wore a trench coat and had its face covered with a laughing mask. Its fingers turned into oversized, sharp scalpels partway through. The other undead had a robust physique, but its body was covered in pus and wrapped in yellowed bandages. At the ends of chains anchored to its flesh by several hooks were moaning skulls. Get them. Taking Aints' order, the 2 undead sprang at the surrounding monsters. There were only 2 of them, but their power was overwhelming. While Jack the Ripper sliced off limbs with its scalpels and the Corpse Collector ripped off heads with its chains, Aints took an added measure. Those plus these should be good. Create lower tier undead wraith. Create lower tier undead bone vulture. He summoned a few of each and gave them all orders. If anyone enters this graveyard, chase them out. I don't care if you kill adventurers, but leave the guards. The wraiths drifted into the air, and the bone vultures flapped their bone wings. Aints chuckled to himself, in satisfaction that his preparation was complete. He dispatched the lower tier undead to make sure that no adventurers stole this great job from under them by using flight magic to swoop in and defeat the ringleader. Now then, shall we? Thanks to the 2 undead Aints had sent out, the mob had thinned out quite a bit. Aints gripped his swords and jumped in. Accompanied only by Narbrel, Aints reached the mausoleum farthest back. He saw a group of suspicious-looking people doing something in a circle outside. The black robes concealing each member were not dyed very well. There were patches of lighter and darker areas. Black triangular caps covered their heads, except for the eyes. A strange pattern was carved into the ends of the wooden staves they held. The figures were all different heights. Judging by their silhouettes, they were all male. Only one man standing in the middle of the circle had his face uncovered. He looked a bit like an undead himself. He didn't seem shabby. In his hand he clutched a black stone. It seemed like he was focusing his spirit on it. The wind carried the sound of undulating murmurs to where Aints stood. Sometimes they were high-pitched, sometimes they were low. The harmonizing undertones sounded almost like a prayer, but this was no solemn service for the dead. It was more like some kind of blasphemous, evil ritual. Should we launch a sneak attack? Narbrel spoke softly so only Aints could hear. He shook his head. That won't work. It seems like they've already noticed us. Neither of them had stealth skills, so they walked right over. They avoided the lights, but if their opponents had night vision, they'd be able to spot them as if it were the middle of the day. Aints had experience with summoned monsters. He knew there was a mental connection between them and the summoner. There was no way their approach hadn't been sensed after they killed that many. Actually, a few people were looking right at them. Aints guessed the reason they didn't attack immediately was that he wasn't the only one who wanted to talk, so they walked straight toward them. When they reached the light, the members of the group braced themselves. One of them spoke to the man in the center. Lord Carget, they ray here. Well, now we know they ray idiots, or I guess it could be a fake name. I'll take it with a grain of salt. Hey there, someone said. Isn't it kind of a waste to perform a boring ritual on such a beautiful night? HMPH, the man replied. I am the one who decides what night is appropriate for a ritual. More importantly, who are you? How did you break through that mob of undead? The man in the center of the circle, Khajiit, if it wasn't a fake name, did seem to be the highest-ranking one among them. He addressed Aints on behalf of the group. I am an adventurer who undertook a request, Aints said. I am looking for a certain boy. I am sure I don't even have to say his name for you to know who I mean. As the members of the group shifted into subtly more defensive positions, Aints whispered, okay then, under his breath. The possibility that they were innocents who had just gotten mixed up in the incident vanished. As Khajiit scanned the area, Aints smiled wryly at him from under his helmet. Are there others? Any others? He laughed. What, who asks that? You're worried about an ambush, but maybe you should think a little more before you start chit-chatting. This guy must just be another pawn. Aints seemed to have lost interest and his shoulders slumped. Then he replied, it's just us. We flew in a straight shot. That's a lie. That can be. Sensing something in those words of conviction, Aints countered, whether you believe it or not is up to you. More importantly, if you return the boy unharmed, you won't have to die, Khajiit. Khajiit glanced at the foolish disciple who said his name. What's your name? Tell me something first. There's someone besides you guys, isn't there? Khajiit shot Aints an icy stare. We ray it. It's not just you guys. You must have someone with a stabbing weapon, so you ray trying to hide him. Or is he hiding because he's scared of us? Suddenly a woman's voice came from inside the mausoleum. Aha, so you investigated those corpses. I see. Nicely done. She slowly moved into view, jangling with each step. She heard the harshness in his voice and smiled guiltily. They figured it out already. There's no point in hiding. Plus, I can use conceal life, so I really was just hiding. Even though Aints had told them what he was after, they were holding Enfire for ransom. He was considering the possibility that he'd already been killed when the woman spoke to him. So hey, can I get your name, Mr. Guy? Oh, I am Clementine. Nice to meet you. I don't think there's any point in you hearing it, but it's Mormon. I've never heard of him, have you? I don't know him either. I collected all the info on high-ranking adventurers in this town, but there was no Mormon. How did you even find this place? I left you those dying words about the sewers. The answer is under your cape. Let us see it. Whoa, pervert, you dirty lech. Having said that much, her face twisted into a grin that sliced across her face, ear to ear. Just kidding, you mean these. Clementine flipped open her cape to reveal something that looked like gleaming scale armor. But Aints, with his superior vision, saw what it was right away. Those were not the tabs of metal used to make scale armor. She was wearing countless adventurer plates: platinum, gold, silver, iron, copper. There were sparkles of mithril and orichalcum among them. These were the marks of all the adventurers she had killed, her hunting trophies. The rubbing of metal on metal was almost like innumerable resentful voices. Those told us where you were. Clementine pulled a face that said she had no idea what he was talking about, but Aints wasn't in an explaining mood. Nabe, you take Khajiit and the rest of those men. I'll get this lady. Then he dropped his voice and told her to keep her eye on the sky. Understood. Khajiit's face was something between a bitter smile and a sneer. Narberl shot him a chilly look that implied how bored she would be. Clementine, how about we go kill each other over there? He strolled away without even waiting for her response. He was sure she wouldn't object. The footsteps following leisurely after him confirmed it. After they'd taken some distance, an explosion of lightning flooded the area near Khajiit and Narberl with a blinding glare. As if that was their cue, Aints and Clementine stared each other down. So were the adventurers I killed in that shop your friends? Are you mad because I killed your buddies? She continued in her mocking tone. Ah ha ha ha. That caster really cracked me up, believing to the very end that someone would come. There was no way to survive my attacks until help arrived with that flimsy physique. But maybe you were the one who was supposed to save them. Sorry I killed them all. Aints shook his head in response to Clementine's taunting laughter. There's not really any need to apologize. Oh, bummer, getting people who are all pissed like how could you? To surrender is hilarious. Why aren't you mad? That is no fun. They weren't your friends. I might have done something similar under certain circumstances, so it'd be pretty hypocritical to come down on you for it. Aints slowly moved into a fighting stance. However, these tools helped me build my reputation. I wanted them to gossip about my exploits to other adventurers when we got back to the inn about how I am a hero who, with just one other party member, repulsed the wise king of the forest. You upsetting my plans is extremely displeasing to me. Clementine grinned, perhaps picking something up from his tone of voice. I see. Oh no, you hate me. By the way, coming over here was a mistake. That pretty lady is a caster, right? Then she never beat Karj. Maybe if the pairings had been reversed, she'd have had a chance, but well, now she wouldn't be able to beat me either. Oh, I am pretty sure Nabe could beat you. Don't be ridiculous. A caster couldn't win against me. I just swoop in and shunk. That's how it ends. Always is. Ah, so you're a very confident warrior then, of course. There aren't any warriors in this country who can beat me. Well, almost none anyway. Okay then, I have an idea.